are fighting at the moment. In my first trimester, I obviously had such an issue with eating food because my nausea was so bad. So I kind of was bedbound for a good 6 weeks. Like, that's a bit dramatic. Like, I wasn't actually bedbound, but I was tucked to the bed. I couldn't really eat anything. I was only eating dry crackers and popcorn. And Missy Moo was kind of like, what the fuck is going on? She was crying all the time, like looking for it, jumping on top of me, being like, why are you in bed? Even though animals are supposed to be intuitive and know that I'm pregnant, she for some reason has no compassion for me at all. She's like jumping on my stomach, like making biscuits on my tits, getting her nails stuck into my nipples. Whereas my dog at home is like trying to protect me, always lying at the end of my bed, like making sure I'm okay, following me around. Where she fucking doesn't give a shite. She doesn't give a fuck. It's all about her. She's like, Mammy, give me more attention. Maybe it's because she knows that she's like less attention is going to be on her because she is my firstborn. Anyway, my nausea was really bad in my first trimester, and obviously I'm in my second trimester now. So it shouldn't be that bad, or it eases off a little bit anyway, but it doesn't go away completely. And that's the most annoying part as well, because when I'm saying it to Jason, I'm like, you know, I'm in my second trimester. He's like, oh, unbelievable. But when I say I feel sick, he's like, but aren't you in your second trimester? I'm like, just because I'm in my second trimester, I haven't like gotten rid of all the symptoms of pregnancy. I'm not automatically just like immune to all these symptoms of pregnancy now. Anyway, the odd time, now my nausea obviously isn't bad at all compared to what it was, but the odd time when I eat certain types of food, like stuff that's really flavoursome, like stuff with like tomato soup and random shit like that. So just the odd time I started to feel sick. And this morning waking up, because I did have a dodgy dinner last night and I thought I was gonna shit myself in my sleep. Like, that's how bad it was. You know when you can like feel it up against your rectum. I was like, okay, this is it. Like, I'm gonna shit the bed, Jason. Like, just be prepared. It's gonna come out at any second. So I was kind of up all night like worrying about that. It's hard. Obviously we live together. He's seen a lot. I'm just farting and burping constantly. I shit with the door open, but I still do like to keep a little element of mystery, trying to keep him attracted to me and making sure that he knows that I'm still making an effort. I didn't want to shit the bed, like most people wouldn't want to shit the bed. I didn't though, in the end. I had to go like up and down to the toilet, kind of preparing myself for what was about to happen, but it never did. But Missy was up as well. Like, anytime I got up out of the bed, she was like following me to the bathroom, like, what's going on, ma'am? Like, are you okay? Well, no, she wasn't asking me if I was okay. She was just kind of sitting there staring at me. I still feel a bit nauseous today, so I had my breakfast, which I just had red pesto pasta, which I know isn't a breakfast food, but like, I always just have like meals for breakfast anyway. I had that, and then I had to run to the bathroom. Like, I didn't even get to finish it, and I didn't know if I was going to finish it when I got back from the bathroom, so I just threw it into the oven, like the bowl and the fork and all. Oven obviously isn't on. Missy follows me, right? So I'm sitting on the toilet and I'm like, okay, here, it's coming. The shit, it's coming, but it's solid, thank God. It's not coming out of me like lava or anything, but it is coming out of me. So I'm shitting, it's coming out of me. Thankful that it's not in my tracksuit bottoms that I just got out of the wash today. My nice fresh tracksuit bottoms. Missy Moo comes in, right? She's like, time for me to take a shit now too. I'm joining in, let me do it too. Let me remind you, I can't empty her litter tray because when you're pregnant, you're at risk of getting toxoplasmosis, which basically can cause like stillbirth, miscarriage, like all the worst things that you can expect during pregnancy. So I'm like screaming at her, like, can you not just wait? And as well, it's not as if cats like need to go immediately. They can hold it in for 8 hours, for up to 8 hours. Like, it's not like dogs where they kind of need to go more often, and if they don't go, they'll shit on the floor. Like, cats have a bit more self-control. So I was like, you didn't need to do that right now while I'm on the toilet. So I'm like, Missy Moo, please don't start with it. She's digging at the thing, and I'm like, I know it's coming, I know it's coming. And then it was too far gone. She had started, because one time I did like when I was on the toilet, I was like, Missy, please stop digging, and then she ran out of the bathroom with the shit still hanging out of her ass. Now that was my fault, so I've known not to do that anymore, because that was actually my fault, and it was bad parenting from me, because she was shitting. Like, I shouldn't have done that. So she did about 5 or 6 shits now. Like, for a small cat, she shits so much. Like, she shits more than me. More comes out of her than would ever come out of me. And I've just started. I've just sat down, and she has no problem. It just comes out of her, no issues at all. It just comes straight out. Like, I have to sit there and push for a little bit, at least. I'm pissed off then. I have my face in my hoodie, feeling like I'm now going to puke inside my hoodie too. But I made it through. But now she knows that I'm mad at her. So she's like running away anytime I go near her. Even if I'm not trying to go near her, I'm just like walking past her, and she's like, oh, I hate that when the scuttering away. Like, fuck, I don't care enough about you right now. It just got me thinking about like gentle parenting, because I've been like, oh, I'm gonna do gentle parenting. What you do is you just essentially you just change up your language, because children can't associate their their language skills aren't fully developed yet, so they don't understand that no means no, and like stop doing that means stop doing that. They just kind of catch on to the end of the sentence. So if your child is like jumping on the table and you're like, stop jumping on the table, they'll only hear the jumping on the table part. With gentle parenting, you have to go, sit down please, lovey-dovey, I'm gonna do this now. Or it's like, do you want to do climbing? Let's do it in a safe way, and all these other things. You have to like switch it around and replace the words with something productive that they'll actually want to do. Whereas, you know, with Missy Moo, when I get mad at her, I'm just like, Missy, literally, I tell her to fuck off probably 5 times a day. It's cats in particular. They're just like, they're so cute and she's angelic, and then it switches and she's demonic. It's not just her. I know it's all cats, but it's really getting on my nerves. You know, working from home, pregnant, and she's gotten spayed, so she is less annoying than she usually is. That's not the point of this video. I wanted to talk about my self-care routines, because I've been taking up a lot more than I usually do, because I'm with child, and I'm kind of like, oh, like this baby deserves more than what I give myself. You know, now it's surpassed just the need of like looking after myself. I'm now looking after another unborn entity. I've cranked it up, the self-care, but it's going to be more than just like, oh, here's the products that I use and this is what I'm doing today. Obviously I'm going to be doing my makeup while talking about it, because I didn't want it to just be a boring sit down video. I kind of wanted to be doing something at the same time, and that's all I could think about, because I've gotten kind of back into makeup again. Even though I'm like more tired than I usually am, I'm like, I have the energy to make myself look better. Random. So this is going to be about like my emotional regulation, and also getting in touch with your inner child, which I've been doing a lot of as well, which I got more tips from my sister, because she's a lot better at it than I am. I have a tendency to bottle up my feelings, hold them in, especially when there's something stressing me out. If I'm in a circumstance or situation where there are consequences to my actions, it feels like it's insolvable or imminent, I tend to hold it in, because I don't think that anyone can help me. Particularly with money problems, I'm like, yeah, everything's fine. And I don't know if that stems from my childhood, where I want to contain everything for the protection of the people around me, so I don't give them secondhand stress, because I felt like I experienced a lot of that when I was a child, where I was like worrying about if we could pay bills or pay the mortgage, when I shouldn't have been actually worrying about that. If I'm not of age to even get a job or financially support the family, like I shouldn't be worrying about that sort of thing. And not to say that we had it like really bad, like, you know what I mean, but it's just, you know, during the recession and stuff, it was a bit harder. I guess my family were bad at coping with it or something. Anyway, but what I have learned in my 24 years of living is that no matter what the problem is, it can always give you a feeling of relief, or feel like less of a worry than it is already, if you do share it, or you have someone that you can talk to about it. Even if you're not looking for a solution, but just talking about it in the first place can help really detach yourself from the situation, and also look at it from a different perspective, and kind of create the steps in solving it. And if you feel like you don't have anyone to talk to, because a lot of times people don't feel comfortable talking to anyone about that sort of thing, is to write it down. The same thing, you can be able, it's kind of the same act as telling someone separate to yourself, because you're kind of telling a page, or telling a book, or telling the notes in your phone, rather than just keeping it in and holding it in within yourself. This is especially important if you are struggling with things like lack of support or financial worries. The mental health services are really bad. A lot of times those things, even though they are circumstantial, they can cause disorders like depression, because they just spiral out of control, and you don't know how to express your emotions, you feel hopeless, you don't really know how to help yourself. So that's how people develop anxiety, depression, is because of the circumstances that they're in. But obviously the root of the problem is financial stresses or lack of support, which is a governmental issue. Since they're not even helping with the latter, which is the aftercare, which would be mental health services, you're just left fucked basically on your own. So the best thing to do is to express it, and you do have to sometimes just figure it out, which it's just also depressing me even saying this, but sometimes the only thing that you can do is to try figure it out on your own, or with the help of the others around you, rather than seeking help through the root of the problem, which is the government, or like the services available. What I do for emotional regulation, now I'm not to say that I'm brilliant at it either, I'm not really that good at all, but I would talk to Jason about it, where he will just kind of milk it out of me, because he will know that something's wrong if I'm acting weird or like acting up, because usually my stresses or worries come out in sadness, lack of of motivation, sometimes anger as well, which I'm also really bad at expressing. I would just like blow up and then I'll apologize immediately after. Whereas like it's good that I'm aware of where these things are coming from and I know how to fix them, but I'm not really putting in the work to help it either. And I think a lot of times when people go to therapy, they can weaponize language that they use in therapy and be like, this is the reason for all of my bad behavior, but they're actually not even doing anything to help themselves with it either. They're just like, this is why I act like this, but I'm not going to do anything to change who I am either. And then if they have a therapist who's like giving them tough love or like telling them what they have to do, then they leave because they're like, I don't feel looked after. Where a lot of times obviously therapy is just for someone, so you can have someone to talk to, not really to look for a solution or an answer. But a lot of times people just do need to hear some hard things or some criticism. And this is kind of relevant to what's going on as well. Obviously with the invasion of Ukraine, it's hard to talk about as an Irish person who's coming from a neutral country. I'm very used to just making everything about me and being like, this really scares me and I'm pregnant, I'm about to have a child and this is terrifying, which is so valid and relevant. I'm allowed to feel those feelings, but I don't need to project them on the internet. And I think that sometimes is a negative effect of bottling in your emotions or not knowing how to process your emotions, is that people puke in, like, literally projectile vomit their feelings on the internet. And I've been guilty of doing this myself a lot of the times too, like through breakups, or I'm acting impulsively or irrationally and just spilling it, like puking my emotions out on my stories or whatever in a video. And to a certain extent, obviously that's healthy and normal too, because I do like people document their lives and the internet is a big part of our lives, and we can't deny that social media is like a part of us now. It can be really hard to not like make this whole situation about you, and you can't strike a balance because obviously everyone is feeling scared, uncertain, confused, anxious, but it's best to just, sometimes you can perpetuate the problem or exacerbate the problem by fear mongering and passing your fears onto other people, like projecting your fears onto other people, which is not a good way to process your emotions, and it's not helping you and it's not helping anyone else. So in circumstances like that, you can talk to a friend, talk to your family members if they're safe, they feel like safe people to you, of course, not if they're going to be making you feel worse about yourself. Obviously it's good to keep up to date with what's going on, but try not to be so obsessive about current affairs or watching the news or being on the internet. Like, try to escape a little bit as well, while also not being ignorant. So yeah, none of these tips are going to be like go for a walk or drink a glass of water, to be honest. Those things do help. Everyone can be like slagging that as a viable solution, but I think it like in some certain circumstances it is. Like after having a panic attack, or you know, needing to cool off after a fight, needing to get like clear your head, having a glass of water and going for a walk without listening to headphones or anything, or music or a podcast, can actually really help and do a lot of wonders for people. So I'm not knocking that solution either. Not that it is a solution for a lot of things. I'm not justifying like people going in with brain tumors and then your doctors being like, just go for a walk. Now for the fun part, like actual products or things that I've been doing for my self-care, I would really highly rate cleaning your space, tidying your space. It just, you know, tidy space is a clear space is a clear mind, tidy space is a tidy mind. What did teachers used to say? I've always been a big fan of tidying. Boop. Sorry, finished my makeup now. I'm just sitting beside the radiator as well, it's so warm. So yeah, the emotional regulation. Make sure not to puke your emotions on the internet. Been so guilty of this before. It only gets you in trouble and just hurts other people. Under some circumstances it can be helpful and comforting for others, but a lot of times it's fear mongering, you know, projecting anxieties, and you don't want to be doing that to others. But you'll know the difference when you're doing it. It's like, will this make me feel good after I do it, or is it only feeling good now in the moment? Talk to someone, or if you can't talk to someone, write it down. I wanted to talk about getting in touch with your inner child. I've been doing so much of this. It is so fun. There's endless benefits. I'm not quite sure what all of them are, but I know that I am enjoying myself and I feel good after I do it. So one of the, which is kind of more like a shadow work thing, something that helps with healing more so than like getting in touch with. It's like healing your inner child. So one thing is to write down your ideal day. What are you doing? Who are you with? How are your parents acting around you? How do you feel? What can you see? What can you smell? And how do you feel afterwards? Another thing is to write down like a kind of bad situation that you had in your childhood. It doesn't have to be like the most traumatic or the turning point of your childhood either, but just something that was significant, so you just remembered it really clearly for some whatever reason. Write down a situation situation like that and write down how you would have wanted your parents to react or what you wanted your parents to say back to you. In like an ideal situation, how would you have wanted your parents to handle the situation or make you feel better about yourself? What is something that your perfect parents, your ideal parents, would have said to you when you were younger? It could have been like, you were the smartest girl in the whole wide world, I love you so much, there's always a safe, warm place here for you, I will always look after you, I'm always on your team, I'm always on your side, I love you unconditionally, all these things. So you can turn them into affirmations and then say them to yourself to help heal your inner child. Another thing is, following on from the writing down your ideal day, you can actually live out your ideal day. I've done this too. One of my ideal days was like getting a slushie, going to the cinema. It's like really simple things that you want to do as a child. Going to Smith's, going to Build-A-Bear, going over at a friend's house, having a sleepover with your sisters or your cousins, going to a fun fair with your parents or whatever. When you're an adult and you have the financial freedom to do those things, sometimes they can slip your mind because you're like, it's not something that comes up very often or something that you feel like an urge to do. On your days off, you do like a grocery shop, you go to flower markets, you do like stupid adult things. If you have a day off, try and make an effort to do something that your inner child would have wanted you to do. You're walking around toy shops. You don't have to spend money or buy anything, but just physically going and doing those things and picking out stuff that you would have wanted as a kid. Another one would have been like sitting in bed and playing Sims all day. I would fucking love to do this, but there's no memory on my laptop, so I can't. It doesn't really have to be like once a week, because it's probably extremely unproductive to be playing Sims 6 hours a day. To do it like once or twice a month and just sit in bed and literally play Sims. And I really want to do all these things obviously before I have my own child, because I won't have time to do all of these things. I have the privilege of time at the moment, but soon I know I won't, and time is gonna go by really fast too, which I am excited for. Like, I'm totally excited to meet my baby and give them the life that I would have wanted. For the moment, I do want to have those spare days where I'm just like playing Sims and doing nothing, or like reading Jacqueline Wilson books for the whole day. I actually have a signed Jacqueline Wilson book, and it's like personalized signed. It says hello Keelan. Like, it's not just like I have a sign, I by accident got a signed copy, like my dad got her to sign it for me. I was like a diehard stan of Jacqueline Wilson. I've read every single one of her books, so I will be going through those again. If I have a child who is interested, and when they are of age, I can like we can read them together, or we can get the audiobooks, listen to them together, which would be, I think, such a nice thing to do. And I'm like still kind of young and want to stay in that realm of things, because I just find it as it's like a comfort to me. But if there's such a big age difference between you and your parents, and they're like working full time, it's obviously hard. My parents were working full time. I'm not being like they were bad parents, they were literally just like in work, they couldn't do anything to help it, like it wasn't their fault. Another big thing I do for myself in terms of self-care is that I have stress-induced alopecia, which I have talked about before, and I'm sure that you know already, but a lot of people do suffer from hair loss and the same sort of thing, even if it's not diagnosed. Like, people do just lose their hair when they are stressed. I don't have it as much anymore. I did have it a lot when I was like 17, 18, 19, and then I got it back again when I was like 21. I think now, because I'm pregnant, I'm really lucky. Like, when you are pregnant, you do tend to get thicker and longer and shinier hair. Well, I actually just gave myself a trim, so it does look a bit healthier and doesn't look as long as it was, but my hair is growing a lot faster. But I do have like a routine that I do for myself, so that first of all, I'm not getting stressed enough that my hair is falling out, but also that I'm looking after my scalp and my hair that is already on my head, so it's not breaking off. I do use the multi-peptide serum, the ordinary one, on my scalp every night, and kind of massage it in. Now, not every night, it's like every other night when I'm actually have energy to do it. And most of the time I don't even do my full nighttime routine, but I aim to do it for myself every night. Also, when I have time, or like the day before I know I'm gonna wash my hair, I massage in like jojoba oil or castor oil or almond oil, or maybe a mix of all three. Massage it, flip your head upside down, massage it into your scalp, and then kind of run it along your ends, but it will get your pillowcases really oily. Ready? Or you can keep it in if you're gonna maybe go out that night, and you can put it in the morning that you know you're gonna be home all day, and then maybe put it in like a silk scarf or one of those, like a shower cap or a bonnet sort of thing. It protects your hair then, and then it just makes it really, really moisturized. I also use Nioxin shampoo for thinning hair. I found that really helps me. I used that when my hair was falling out, and it's the same thing with sort of going to therapy or doing meditation. You don't just stop doing it because you're feeling better or you think that you're cured. You continue with these practices so you make sure that it doesn't happen again, maintaining the state that you're in, which is kind of what my goal is for my self-care. I just want to maintain the state that I'm in, rather than trying to strive for some attainable unrealistic version of myself that I'll never reach, or fluctuating up and down between the two, where I'm like feeling good and then I'm shit again, or I'm okay and then fucking rock bottom, you know? So I'm just trying to maintain the same state. I use the reincarnation mask from Bleach London. That's like my favorite. We are not fighting anymore. You are my best friend. You are my best friend. Another thing I put on when I get out of the shower is the Olaplex. I think I want to change to the Way. Is that what it's called? The Way hair oil? Because the Olaplex one is just too, it's so expensive for the size that you're getting. It's literally like this size. And we used the Olaplex shampoo and we had it for a while, and I love the Olaplex number 3 treatment. That's like my favorite. I also use that. If I'm not doing like the oil mask, I will do the number 3 treatment and just keep that in for a few hours in wet hair and then wash my hair. Switch between the two. And I wash my hair every 5 or 6 days. I can go pretty long because I know like hairstyles to do when I have greasy hair, and I don't really leave the house that much anyway, so I can get away with just having greasy hair. Another thing I make sure that I always do is have a bath, like I think twice a month. We try to do them once a week, and me and Jason take them together, so I'm not like bored, because sometimes baths are so boring. I don't know how people do them all the time and just like sit there. I know you can like read the book in the bath or like watch a movie, but we don't have one of those bath caddies, and we're moving anyway, so there's no point in us buying one. But I would 100% like drop my book in the bath, and then you're kind of reading by candlelight. My glasses would get us like foggy from the fucking steam in the bath. It's better if you're just like in with the person, because then you can like have quality time, you know? So, and I hate doing things on my own. I like can't stand doing things on my own. I'm one of those people where my social battery does run out very fast, and I can't like keep up a conversation longer than an hour. I just really prefer sitting in silence with people. Like a lot of my best friends, we can't just sit next to each other. I like doing things in the same room with people. I like reading next to Jason. I like taking showers with Jason, so I'm not doing it on my own. I like doing the food shop with someone. I like doing work when I'm like in my home house. I find I'm much more motivated when I'm like at home with my family, because everyone else is working or doing something, and I can just, knowing that other people are in the house and I can leave and talk to them whenever I want to. It's just way easier to get things done for some reason. I just can't do it when I'm on my own. It's like I just want to curl up into a ball and, you know, hide. I hope you enjoyed this video. It was probably so bad, to be honest. Yeah, thanks for watching. I love you all so much. You're the best ever. Bye.